Episode 2 of Coastin with Piv and Finer is here. I'm David Fine, pleased to be joined by Evan Pivnick. And Evan, it's getting dark in Glens Falls. You had to adjust the lighting right before you hopped on. But
dude, I got so many compliments last week. They're like, "Oh, your lighting's fantastic." I was like, "Yeah, I can't wait for the next episode." And then I realized, obviously this isn't live. We are pre-recording, and different parts of what we do is pre-recorded. Sorry to break the fourth wall on that, but that's what happens. That's the way we make things work. I wish everything was live and it would be seamless and there would be no edits on things, but that's not how what we do works. Sometimes it does, but not here. So now it's getting dark here at like 4:30 in the afternoon. There's nothing I can do about it. So as the interviews are going on and the show's going on, it's getting darker outside. So I have to continually make my light here brighter. So my natural lighting has been tainted. Hopefully maybe next week we can get back to maybe filming at an earlier time in the afternoon.
yes,
So I get the perfect lighting once again.
Meanwhile, I'm expecting as I'm talking, the window behind me, it'll be completely black. I am in my sister's room in New Jersey.
I'm glad you clarified that.
I wanted to make sure everyone knows here. I had to beg because there's better internet in here. And I think the running joke is just going to be that every week I'm in a different location. And if we're lucky enough, I will be in the famed wood-paneled basement.
Ah, yes.
Over the holidays. So the wood-paneled basement would be wonderful. ECHL hockey is back on FloHockey and on Flow Sports. I caught a few games this weekend. I saw Rapid City had their home opener, and then they played a second game in front of a group of fans. Wheeling had their first game in front of just about 1,000 there due to the protocols. Wheeling's 0-1. Indy's 2-0. Tulsa's got 3 points. Florida with 4 points. What did you see this weekend, and what are your initial thoughts before we hop into some of our plays of the week?
First initial thoughts, I want to, say just a pat on the back for our good buddies who broadcasted all the games this weekend. They hopefully are feeling a little bit better that they're back to somewhat normal life. And I know a lot of our colleagues had to call games from the comfort of their homes or the office since they could not travel. So I listened to some of those, and a lot of times it really sounded seamless in terms of the audio quality and whatnot. So, props all around to the broadcasters, to FloHockey for doing what the best basically that everyone can right now with the way things are going on. It's awesome to see our friends still able to do what they love to do and do a damn good job of that. So way to go, guys.
Happy that all the games got put in as well, which is a good thing. And it keeps the league rolling through 72 games these teams are going to play. They announced the mini B part of the schedule because originally the schedule had only been announced up till the mid-portion of January. They've tacked on another month. There may be some changes in there. There's the potential that Toledo and Fort Wayne might hop in at some point. I'm not even worried about that. It's good to have hockey back, and I wanted to start us off here by reminding everyone that Stefan Fournier is going to be joining us, a forward for the Wichita Thunder, as well as Daniel Tetrault, the head coach of the Rapid City Rush. Each have been with their organizations for a few years. Stefan, I beg your pardon, is a player coach with Wichita, scored 24 goals last year. And then Daniel Tetrault's done a wonderful job, as has Spire Sports, in turning around Rapid City. And they were right on the cusp of the playoffs last year before the world caught on fire back in March. So with that being said, let's jump into our first play of the week here on FloHockey's Coastin with Piv and Finer.
Out is Jacksonville. They have the puck. Possible 2-on-1 if they hustle. It is Gerduckis looking for Lodemeyer. Score! Aaron Nazarian puts the Icemen on top 1-0.
Well, just a beautiful play here. And one of your guys, Aaron Nazarian, pots after a terrific tic-tac-toe passing play.
Yeah, that was a thing of beauty there, and you can see the boys are pumped up after that one. Ara was great with the Thunder last year. He's a fun guy to be around. Glad he gets a good opportunity in Jacksonville, and that's pretty. Everyone in the crowd appreciates that one.
It's Barash, the steal, tip try in front, stare it, says no to Marcinu, break pass ahead, Jolie behind and
And Michael Jolie of the Wheeling Nailers is the beneficiary on this long-distance play. DJ Abasilla, our friend and yours on the call. Jolie, who used to play with the Colorado Eagles, and it seemed like Back when he was on Colorado, he was scoring every night, and he gets his first of the year for the Wheeling Nailers late in the game as the Nailers end up dropping that one, their only game so far to date. Those are your plays of the week. Evan, you have all the choices in the world, meaning only 2 of them in front of you. And what do you pick?
They're both great. I mean, there's so many choices that we could have. I have to pick one of these. I mean, give me to the end of the show. I'll give you a definite answer.
I'm going with Aaron Azarian. Beautiful tic-tac-toe passing play. And as we'll hear from Stefan Fournier, sometimes it's put for you on a plate by your teammate when we get to that interview in just a second. So I'm shouting out Aaron Azarian, former Adirondack Thunder forward with the Jacksonville Icemen now, with my vote for the play of the week on that beauty of a play.
I would actually agree with you because I think Naz would be mad at me if I didn't go with him, but I think it would also be very unbrand for the way that we played cards against each other on the bus if I went against him. So in that regard, I'm going to go with him this time. But if he shows up again and we have 2 choices, I'm going against him.
I'm sure we're going to have many more Michael Jolie goals to potentially choose from. Unfortunately for Indy in the Central Division, they play Orlando this weekend. So they might hopefully not end up on the highlight reel next week, and we'll try to throw a little variety. So we're going with Aaron Azarian, our play of the week. And I wanted to try something different before we get into the interview with Stefan Fournier. You know, our broadcaster friends in this league work so hard to put on a good product. And Jack Suter scores his first career goal for the Rapid City Rush. He had signed with Atlanta, and then he was with Reading, but then with both those teams opting out, he is now in Rapid City and making an impact early in his career, assisted by Jake Wallen on this goal. So let's get to that highlight. Beautiful deflection in front from Suter, but Mark Benetti of the Rapid City Rush with the first career goal call for Jack Suter, a moment Jack won't forget, and I really enjoyed Binner's call on that one. I thought he did a great job punching, and it's the first career goal for Jack Suter, so I wanted to give him a shout-out here on our call of the week around the ECHL.
It's just the things that they teach you, and sometimes you can't be taught that. I know he would do this in his best John Madden impression, but, you know, sometimes you're just born with the gift of being able to throw that in there with you know, little to no effort, and Mark Benetti did a great job. And I'm sure he was waiting for 10 months to do another goal call, and he knocked it out of the park. Way to go, Binner.
Home run.
Hats off to you.
Take all 4 bases. Give us a little tip of the cap at the end.
Every sports cliche that we can think of, it's yours, man.
Well, with that being said, Stefan Fournier coming up next here on Coastin with Piv and Finer. Stefan, we find you in Wichita today. How's everything going down there? Nice.
Yeah, it's snowing here today.
Snowing?
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, it's snowing out in Wichita.
Now, you coming from up north in Canada, that's no stranger to you. You're probably excited to see the snow hit the ground.
Yeah, I guess there's no snow back there either right now, though. So, yeah, I mean, I'm never really happy when the snow comes, to be honest with you. It's kind of nice to walk outside in your slippers every day.
But, I mean, sometimes that's nice, though. You know, it's kind of when the snow hits, you know, that means it's hockey season. I know you guys started a little bit late, but does it feel really like you're back in the swing of things now that some things have kind of subsided and you're back to somewhat normal life playing hockey again?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the first week, it obviously took a little bit of adjusting. I've been napping a little more than usual, just getting back into the swing of things. And, I mean, the 10 months off is a long time for anybody, so – I'm really excited to just get back to my regular life.
What's the biggest motivation for you, 8th year pro, coming back for an 8th year when, hey, things are not normal this year by any stretch?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, I didn't have any thought that last year was going to end the way that it did. Obviously, having been in Wichita put me in a situation where, you know, I have the luxury of being able to come back and play this year where I think a lot of guys are, probably suffering out there, not being able to find jobs and whatnot. So, it was more of a blessing than it was. Obviously, it took some preparing and, coming back here now, it's been trying to get back into shape and just get back into the mix of things, because where I'm from in Montreal, everything was still shut down. So
what were some of the things that you took to during the off season when you kind of realized, hey, I don't think we're going to start in October. I don't think we're going to start in November, but December would be the time where you guys would start. What were some of the things that you kind of took up over the off season to make sure that you'd be able to be in shape in time for the season and you didn't lose any sort of rust?
Well, I mean, there certainly is a lot of rust. Where I'm from, the rinks were completely closed. So I think for the first 2 months I got home, I actually took up running. So me and my friends, we were all like tracking what our running was and then making it there because gyms were closed. The last 2 months though, we actually we have like a high performance center back home, and that's like the only thing that was open. So I mean, to be honest with you, every single plan that I had this summer went and came to an abrupt halt.
When you were planning to come back to Wichita, what was the biggest struggle about getting across the Canadian border into the United States? There had to be something with the travel that could have been even a little bit screwy.
No, there was absolutely nothing, actually. The process was even faster than normal. It was almost as if they wanted to get me in and out of there. So the only interesting part to my travels is I stopped at 3 a.m. in a gas station outside Detroit, and I figured I would just get an hour or two of sleep, and I woke up 10 hours later. So I woke up at 1 p.m. I was like, oh my God, this isn't great.
Well, you probably got used to that routine where, you're not doing anything. You're stuck in quarantine and you sleep. So
that's it. You know what? I slept and I played video games.
I mean, that's what I'm still doing now.
Exactly.
Are you playing Warzone? Because Piv is on Warzone here.
Yes.
It depends. I don't want to be carrying them. My back's already heavy enough carrying the rest of my teammates.
Yeah. So I think I don't think we have to play together then, because you'd probably be carrying me for the most of it. Final circle, I might pick up a couple of kills here and there, but
that's it. Are you crawling in from the back, or are you right in the middle of the fight?
I'm a rotator. I rotate around, make sure I get a good spot, and then see what happens. Depends on the circle.
Okay.
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
But you're probably gonna have to spend $8,000 and buy me back after I lose my gulag. But that comes with playing with me. You have a role as not only leadership when it comes to playing for Wichita, but also behind the bench. You have a say when it comes to what goes on the ice, what plays you guys are running. How is that transition from being a player to a member of the coaching staff while still playing? What was that like for you?
I mean, some of it had to do with recruiting during the summertime. And, I think that I have a good reputation as a good teammate. So it was nice to have, someone help Rammer, who obviously he hadn't been in the league for, a couple of years before he came back. So, having that part of it, it's definitely unique. I mean, I don't have much say as far as what goes on the ice. That's all Rammer's show. It's really just an honor to learn, the ropes from somebody. Like, there's no school for coaching, or there's no, in my case, it's not like I went to university. I went to major juniors. So, it's like I almost look at it like a residency or like a stage, where I'm learning the ropes, learning the video, learning, just how running a team works. And then, having someone like Bruce there to learn from it certainly helps a lot.
We had Tyler Brown up in Reading, and he was a player assistant coach for a year. And he talked quite frequently, especially at the start of that season, about some of the unexpected things that he learned. What are some of the unexpected things? What's one thing that you didn't expect you would learn that you have learned from Grammer?
You know what? He pretty much crossed across the whole thing. I mean, I think one of them is like just his style of coaching and how he gets along with all the guys and takes like a personal, liking into every single guy. Like, there's no one on the team that's more or less important. So, I mean, one of the things that I like, Grammer certainly, like, he teaches you how to be humble. So it's great to learn from him.
Have you found that you've had a better kind of relationship with your teammates and maybe some of the younger guys since you took on maybe a bigger role in terms of, they can come to you to talk to, about maybe things in the league, things they have questions of, instead of going right up to the head coach?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd have I do certain things like, I mean, I have a lot of help with Wiley Wezwowski here too, who's 36. He's obviously on the PHP executive board, so he's usually reminding me to get on the call because I'm the rep for Wichita. So a lot of the rules and stuff like that, you got to thank Riley, just because he gets me onto the phone calls when I'm usually slacking, like I was for this one. So I have a lot of people that help. So, my leadership group here too, with like Jacob Graves and Gagno, and then even the second year guys, like we had a pretty tight knit team last year. So, it's one of those, it's really one of those locker rooms where no one's even had I've never witnessed an issue in it yet. So it's been a pretty cool experience. I mean, last year the whole team basically got overhauled from the year before. So, we grew together. Obviously there were some tough stretches, but we're just hoping for a better year.
Man, you guys play one game and now you have 2 weeks off. What?
Yeah, I need the 2 weeks to get back into shape, to be honest.
That's fair.
Was that first game kind of a wake-up call?
I didn't play it. I coached.
Oh, yeah. But still, just kind of the things that, every day, you had the 2 weeks of training camp where you kind of just –
No, but we didn't have 2 weeks. We had 1 week.
1 week.
We got down here on Saturday. I got down here on Sunday last week, and then they played on Friday, or we played on Friday. And, I mean, listen, like, just getting back and watching a game, I didn't really think that hockey was going to happen this year, to be honest, especially in our league, given, the current state. Like, I didn't think that, only 13 teams would start. So, I mean, just being behind the bench and feeling the energy and being around the guys again kind of made me feel it brought me back into the mindset of like, hey, what, it's hockey time. Like, because I'll be honest with you, it was one of those things where, the further and further I got into summer, I was kind of pushing, like, you kind of just stop hoping, because then if it doesn't work out, you're pretty depressed about it, right? So you kind of, like, at the end of the day, like, it was kind of just like I'd been signed since maybe September, but it's kind of like last second, okay, like it's really going, let's pack our bag and let's get ready to rock.
So 2 weeks before your next game, a week and a half, I guess, at this point when the podcast will be released. What are you guys doing in the apartment there? How are you spending your time to make sure that you're not going stir crazy?
Well, yeah, we're not really allowed out anywhere. So, I mean, for the most part, we've just been playing Xbox with each other and doing regular things like that. Just keeping each other company.
How has the camaraderie been with the team? I know in these situations there are so many different protocols. Everyone has to wear masks pretty much when they're around each other, that social distancing and whatnot. Has that affected kind of the way the team has come together and starting to build that chemistry?
Well, I mean, listen, the team, it's so early in the season. I'll give you an example. Like, we practice at a practice rink every day, and not all of us get dressed in the same room, So we have that, let's say, like 35, 40 minutes before practice where you show up to the main rink, pack your bag up and do whatever and stretch and then make it over to the other one. So obviously we're not doing any team lunches. We haven't done many things where we're all, sitting together. I think that kind of starts on the road also. And once we're settled into the rink and, all the dust is settled a bit, because, obviously there's a group of, I think, 8 or 9 of us that are all returning. And then the new guys have seamlessly fit in also. It's not been an issue at all. So it'll be nice to just get closer to everyone and then find, a little bit more about everyone's personality. And I mean, that usually happens when you're on the road.
Some guys in the NBA going through the quote unquote bubble experience, Major League Baseball, said that at the end of the day, it made them closer as friends and as a team because of the shared experience of it being just a little bit different and having to find some commonalities between each other. How do you view that situation in terms of what their camaraderie might eventually end up as?
Well, you know what? I think that essentially we all moved to new towns where it's not like we know anyone else here. So it doesn't really change the dynamic of the team that much, especially considering like we're not supposed to really all be hanging out, Like they kind of want us just at home with your you know, with like one or two people, and like those, like if you go and eat at their house, so it's just, you know, not everyone spreading germs all day. I mean, obviously just getting getting our feet like off the floor and running is pretty impressive by the league so far. I mean, obviously we don't have, I don't even think that we have people that are allowed to come and watch the games yet. So just the fact that that's all going on, like, it's kind of one of those things. It's better safe than sorry right now. Instead of like exposing people and doing whatever, everyone's been kind of just keeping to themselves, you know?
Absolutely. So let's go back. You mentioned it before when you're playing in the Q. You had some success there. You guys end up going and winning the whole thing back when you were with Halifax. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely my favorite hockey experience. I mean, I got to play with, you know, Nate McKinnon, who's like arguably the best player in the NHL right now. And, you know, Jonathan Drouin, a lot of good players, Mackenzie Weegar, and, you know, just having that chance to win and being a co-captain with Trey Lewis on that team was a pretty special, experience. I mean, the playoffs too, I had a good playoff. So it was really nice to just be a part of that whole thing. I mean, it eventually led to me getting a contract with Montreal also. So it was a pretty special time.
What was the easiest goal that either McKinnon or Drouin or one of the future show guys on that team?
What, do you want to talk about the play again? Is that what you want to talk about?
I don't know what the play is, so I'd love to hear what.
Okay, well, you can search it up. You just go. It basically, Drouin does the whole thing, and but listen, the thing wouldn't be a highlight if I wasn't there to pot it in.
Is that something you sent out and said, hey, I did this? I know he did like everything else, but
no. Well, I thought that you were. I thought you were like, you know, just going from Halifax to that. I thought that you were basically like just insinuating on that. But once you see it, it's like, but it's basically what everyone wants to talk to me about when they do say something like that. So you guys can go and see it for yourself.
So I have to go on YouTube and search Jonathan Drouin, Stefan Fournier.
Yeah, no, you just don't have to search me up at all. I'm no part of it.
Okay.
I'm no part of it. I could have scored that with a broom and a blind stick.
So besides that, what were some of your favorite memories about playing with those guys, and how funny is it to see, you know, them on TV now, you know, raking
none of it's funny. It's not surprising. I mean, I played with them, and you know, I got to see firsthand how great and first class players they are. You know, so I mean, obviously Nate is on a different level too, and being a part of that with him was special. You know, that whole year. I mean, the only thing that you really remember at the end of it is winning, right? So that. You know, there were fun moments definitely during it. Some stuff not to be spoke about on air, like, you know, just stupid stories. But yeah, obviously, you know, being that young, being away from home, like being in a place like Halifax, like we just really molded well together, and it was a great time.
You played in the AHL for a handful of years, parts of a handful of years as well. St. John's Ice Caps, including. And a number of awesome cities along the way. What are some of your favorite cities, whether it's ECHL or AHL, over your career?
Well, Austin. Look, everyone, like when you're up north, all you waited for is to go to like San Antonio, go to Austin, Texas. I mean, playing in San Diego and Tucson, and you know, there's so many cool places to play. Like I've probably done the tour between both the leagues of. I played in both conferences, so I've done, you know, the Florida conference in the East Coast is a very cool conference to play in. This one's even a very nice one to play in, considering, you know, you go down to Dallas, Boise, like there's not one I can say is cooler than the other one. There's just some that are more expensive than others.
Living in St. John's, we love going to St. John's to play the Growlers, but what's it like living there for the time that you were there for a few months?
No, yeah. I mean, I spent quite a few nights on George Street. I lived in the Delta Hotel next door, so I found myself, you know, going out to eat most nights. You know, there's plenty of things to do there. The people there are amazing. You know, it's such a friendly place to be, and you know, I love St. John's.
How long did it take you to get screeched in from your moment that you got there?
Probably the next day.
Best place for fish and chips in St. John's.
Oh man, I don't have one off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, if you make it back to the hopefully sometime soon when things open back up and you go back out east, maybe on a trip to go to St. John's, you come back.
Yeah,
with
you know
us.
what? I wouldn't mind it. I'd be. I have a couple friends, Cody Donahue, and a couple other guys that I'd be happy to go see there.
As we wrap up with you here, I want to bring up a very important topic with you. I noticed, I was scrolling through your Twitter account, and I noticed you had a tweet that some people might find controversial, but I agree with you with this take. Too many people hate on Nickelback, man. Too many people.
Listen, buddy, there's only two types of people in this world. People that love Nickelback and liars, buddy.
And I saw you're pumping their tires on Twitter about a new album coming out, and I saw that, and I was like, finally, someone who's brave enough to take the stand and back Nickelback.
Hey, listen, you know what? There's just a bunch of cowards out there that just want to hate on a good thing. At the end of the day, listen, Nickelback is a great band. Everyone who tries hating on it's lying. Do you know how Nickelback got their name?
I've heard variations of the story, but I want to hear the one that you know.
Well, I don't know exactly where they worked or what they worked. I think it was even a Starbucks, and I guess like on a medium coffee, like it would be like $1.95. So it'd be like, would you like your Nickelback?
Wow, it's so simple.
Right, there you go. You know what? That's poetry in motion.
They've lasted for over 20 years as a band. It. Longevity.
Listen, not only do they have longevity, they have star power. You know, Chad Kroger's a gun.
Yeah,
He's married. A living legend. You know what?
He married Avril for a few years.
I have nothing but good things to say, and every time I look at this photograph, it's gonna make me laugh.
Absolutely, man. Stefan, thanks for joining us here. We appreciate it. Best of luck with the rest of the year. Stay safe and have fun.
Thank you, my man. Take care. Both of you guys stay safe also. If you ever want to play online with me, let me know.
Absolutely. I'll see you in the Gulag.
We'll see you in the Gulag. All right, ciao, buddy.
Well, it was great to hear from Stefan Fournier, and coming up next, we'll have Daniel Tetrault, head coach of the Rapid City Rush. But I wanted to do a little Mountain Division grab bag here, Evan, in that, I know Wichita isn't very mountainous, but Rapid City certainly is nestled in the Black Hills. If you can use the word nestled at any point on a podcast, you're a big winner. So we wanted
vocabulary genius.
Yes. We wanted to do a little grab bag here of what you're bringing with you when you go hiking, like you're in the mountains. And so each of us decided to bring a hat, which I'm gonna throw on here. This is my hiking hat.
Okay. It's
my fake Patagonia hat. You have a real Patagonia hat. It has been, yeah.
And let's just get this off the, out of the open. We are not sponsored by Patagonia in any which way, shape, or form. If they would like to throw us some free hats, we would happily accept them. I do have my Patagonia hat, and let it be known to the world, I do not hike. I'm an indoorsman when it comes to most things, but I'll just, solidarity to those who hike. I will wear the same things, but I will not do the same activities. So those in the mountain division, I know here in Glens Falls, we're in the mountains, the Adirondacks. A lot of people think it's the name of the town. It's not. It's Glens Falls, not Adirondack, New York. But I do have mountains on the hat, so I do feel like I'm an outdoorsman right now, I'm happy to do so.
It's a shame that you don't hike living in Glens Falls. I would be out there almost every week, but I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm gonna go to
my personal life choices are my personal life choices.
I will not criticize you any further in minute 30 or whatever, minute 25 on the podcast, wherever we are eventually at this point. I have a New York Jets winter hat because it gets cold in Glens Falls and it would be cold in the winter. JETS, just end the season, baby. 0-13, Rams, Browns, Patriots to go until Trevor Lawrence is coming to the Jets. I am pumped. I am ready to go. And I would bring a Jets winter hat in case, when you get to the top of the mountain, you'll be a little sweaty, but you need something cool to make sure, or warm, that you so you don't get too cold.
Yeah, that's going to be the first time in a long time that the Jets will ever make it to the top of any sort of mountain. So I'm glad you were able to bring them up there, David. And Trevor Lawrence season can't come any sooner, even though it's kind of getting fun to watch the Jets lose every week because they're just finding new ways to do it. And this past week, when they lost without even a care in the world to the Seahawks, it was like a nice relaxation. It's like when your team's good and blowing other teams out, it's the complete opposite of that. But at the same time, it's the same feeling where you don't have to worry about it.
Yes.
Because against the Raiders, man, I was like, no, they can't win this one.
No.
But the Raiders outjets the Jets, and the Jets outjets themselves, which is hard to do, but they did it, and everyone's happy.
Before I go on a rant about the Jets, I wanted to continue with our theme here. So we're going hiking, Mountain Division.
Mm-hmm.
I brought my nice little swoosh Nike bag as well, because you got to carry things in it. So I'm also carrying with me some Kind. Again, not a sponsor, some Kind.
None of these items have been given to us in any sort of promotional way. It's just things that we have, and we do not have any sort of
granola here. And I won't say the brand, but it'll be obvious, some granola bars as well. So as you're hiking up, you can stop on the side of the trail, enjoy the pineys.
It's like that scene in Wayne's World where they're like, we will not give into any corporate affiliation or whatever they said, corporate sponsorships, and they're just eating like slowly out of like they're eating Domino's pizza, and he's like drinking slowly out of like Mountain Dew and all that stuff, or the Pepsi can. I don't know if you're familiar with Wayne's World. It's a great film.
It is great. I've seen it.
And he's wearing like the Adidas tracksuit. He's like, yeah, man, we're never giving in any corporate.
Well, in any event, I'm very happy with how our Mountain Division little grab bag, and if we were to be going hiking, worked out. Your hat is much nicer than mine.
You have more things though, so you overwatched me in that aspect.
I once walked into a bar wearing this hat because I had gotten back from hiking, and it was like mid-afternoon, and one of my buddies said, "Why are you wearing a hat in a bar?" And I felt really, really embarrassed. It was like in May, and I immediately took the hat off, and I just held it by my side the entire time, and that was even more awkward. So I probably should have just flipped it around and made it backwards, but I didn't pull it off well at all, which is a story of my life.
I got this hat. We played the Thunder played the Florida Everblades. It was 2 seasons ago.
Okay.
And it was great because it was the middle of February. We went down to Estero for 6 days. And, I mean, people who work in the ECHL and play in the ECHL, they know how much of a privilege it is when you are in one place for an extended period of time on the road, for sure. And we were on the beach for 6 straight days in February.
And so you use that time to get a Patagonia hat when there is a store a block from your apartment that sells these hats. I know that to be fact.
Yeah, but it's more expensive there. This is on the clearance rack at Dick's Sporting Goods. And I needed a hat because I didn't bring a hat, and it was really hot out, and I wanted to hang out by the pool. So I got this hat. It was like $15. And I was like, Patagonia for $15? Wow. You got it. So now I have a Patagonia hat that I wear inside.
Whereas I have the knockoff hat that I barely ever wear, and probably paid $18 for it or $20.
Well, you could hike the mean mountains of Jersey.
Yeah, Western Jersey, Pennsylvania, Appalachian Trail. It's great. If you go 30 minutes north, my favorite spot is Old Pulpit Rock. Into the Pinnacle, you have Hawk Mountain, just 30 minutes north of the wonderful city of Positive Change. If you keep on going north on that road, you end up at the Yingling Brewery, where all brewed. So it's only about 45 minutes away from downtown Reading, which explains why it costs like $2 for a 6-pack.
Well, we're going to work on them for a sponsorship next week, too. So if you could take a drive over there and say, hey, please sponsor our podcast, that'd be fantastic.
I'll be coasting by as we coast into our next interview with Daniel Tetrault, the head coach of the Rapid City Rush.
Daniel, thanks so much for hopping on here. I know it's been a crazy few weeks as you guys are finally underway, but what does that feel like after, the time after the season was canceled back in March to where you guys are now? What has that whole roller coaster been like for you?
Well, it's a great feeling to be back, playing hockey. I feel very fortunate and blessed to be one of the teams, one of the coaches going. I feel terrible for my other colleagues, the other coaches that cannot resume play, and especially all the free agent players that are out there without a job. It's tough on them. So I'm never going to complain, and I'm very fortunate, and we're fortunate to be playing hockey. And it was great to have those 2 games this weekend. it just felt great to be back at the rink having hockey back.
Always nice to start a season with a win. You guys split a weekend series with Utah. Game ends on Friday, 6-4 win over the Utah Grizzlies. What does it feel like when you get back in the room, you're in front of the boys, and if there was any normalcy to that at all, how are you feeling?
Well, we were all excited. We were down 2-0 and 3-1 in the game. And, we scored 3 goals in the third period to make it 6-4. So it was a big win for us, especially at home. Our fans were into it. We had about 3,500 people here. And it was just a great feeling. We won the game, but just a great feeling to be back playing hockey, like I said earlier. And, Saturday, Utah gave it to us pretty good. They were hungrier, and they were pretty bitter after that loss. So, but overall, like I said, win or lose, it's just great to be back and having some kind of normalcy a little bit.
You mentioned just the part of your job, as the head coach, you're one of the guys that recruits. And when it comes to a year like this, you mentioned all the guys who are sitting at home and have nowhere to play this year. It's got to make your job a little bit harder because there are so many good players who are still on the market and still are free agents, but you have all these guys that can get the job done on the ice. Has it been really tough to kind of turn these guys away when, there are guys maybe even, from playing or from coaching that you have a good relationship with, and they're calling you and saying, hey, I would love a place to play. And you say, hey, you know what? We're full. There's only so many places you can play.
Yeah, you're right. It's been very unusual for all coaches involved because your phone's just blowing up. Really, you just want to coach hockey. But for the last couple of weeks and even in the summer, it was more about recruiting and the not knowing if you're going to play or not. And then when the teams opted out, the agents were calling, the free agents were calling, and you're always trying to improve your lineup. But you got to be careful of how many guys you bring in. And then there's salary cap issues as well. I know a lot of teams are having help with their American League and the NHL affiliates with players. Here with Arizona, I only got one goalie that signed out of major junior. And so you got to, finagle around the salary cap. And, and then they lower the salary cap on us. So, you had to give pay cuts to guys, unfortunately, but they're not complaining. I mean, it's a job for them. There's like 200 other free agents calling all the time. So, but I know other teams are upgrading, and you're always trying to upgrade at the same time.
It's sort of interesting you say that at the end about upgrading, because in a normal circumstance in the ECHL, it's you obviously are always trying to upgrade your team, best possible players. This year, there's a difference to that, and you want to make sure that you guys build the loyalty with the group that's coming in so you can be in the best possible scenario to build for next year. How do you manage that balance of we want to make sure we're the best possible team this year, but we also need to make sure we're not getting it all at once, and then maybe next year it could be a little bit more difficult?
No, yeah, you're right. It's kind of a juggling act, balancing everything. And also, there's that process of the protocols where they need the negative test before leaving their home base. And then they get to town, you got to quarantine them in the hotel and get another PCR test. So even when you get new guys, it's a long process. So you got to think about who you're bringing in and make those calculations. And that's what makes it tough this year on all of us coaches, just balancing the signees and the salary cap, and then the immigration process with the Canadian players as well. So there's a lot of moving parts, and that's why it makes for long days, long hours. But like I said earlier, I'm not complaining. We're playing hockey, and it's part of our jobs. And but if you're not upgrading, the other teams are. So it's just a weird kind of situation, weird off season, and it's basically one day at a time, to be honest. You can't think ahead too far or else you're going to go crazy. So it's a one day at a time process.
It's pretty on par with what the league is to begin with, when it's all the transactions and stuff going on a regular season, and then you throw this in the mix where who knows what's going to happen day after day in that department.
No, yeah, you're right. It's been crazy. I mean, but it's always fun playing that kind of like GM role, talking to agents, and a lot of players, they want to play, they just want a job. So they're taking big pay cuts from being out of a job. They just want to play. So you want guys that want to play the game, that love the game, and it doesn't matter really about the money. They just want to play. And so it makes it interesting for this season. That's for sure.
I used to live out in Nebraska, and the time I went up to Rapid City just for a night, saw Mount Rushmore, explored the Black Hills a little bit, and saw the Badlands. Man, it's it's an underrated area of the country. It's really beautiful. The downside of that being is that within the Mountain Division, there's really no one close that's just a trip around the corner. What has your experience been like? You used to play in Rapid City, you were captain there for a year, and now you're coaching it where, man, you're on the bus for longer than probably any team in the league, and it might not even be close if you were to do the tabulation.
No, yeah, that's a good point. We're on an island here, but fortunately with our new ownership group in Aspire Sports and Entertainment out of Carolina, they also bought Greenville this past summer, so they own 2 teams now, and they gave us plenty of resources, and they treat the staff and players like class and like gold, and now we're flying everywhere. So they sold the bus. So it made my job recruiting a little easier in the off season. Now you can get the big time players if you want. And then the guys they have brand new apartments here, and it's actually a great hockey town. I mean, there's a rich history. They started in the Central League about 11, 12 years ago, won the Central League championship their second year in existence, and they used to sell out here all the time. And actually, with the new ownership and our new team president, Todd Mackin, that we got from Kansas City, the Mavericks, he's done a superb job cleaning up the front office and promoting the team and the community. And we averaged close to 4,000 last year, and it was rocking. We set a record of nine straight home wins to start the year last year. So good things are happening in Rapid City, and it's one of the reasons I signed an extension with Rapid. And now with flying everywhere, it's a nice place to play.
What brought you to Rapid City originally? You had that year where you were the captain. What were some of the things that made you want to sign there and then, come back and become the assistant coach and the head coach?
Well, it was the closest city to home to Manitoba for me. So it's only 11-hour drive. I say only 11 hours for a Western Hockey League junior player back in the day. That's nothing. You know what I mean? So my family comes out to the Black Hills quite a bit. And, when I played against the Rush as a opposition player, the place was always rocking. I love the small town feel, and it's a real hockey town. So I enjoyed my time here for the year I played, and got into the coaching side of things. Started as an assistant, and when the head coach job came available, I pushed real hard to get that job, and I was fortunate enough to get the job, and I'm real happy here. It's a great city, great community, and like I said, with the new ownership now, makes it a great place to play.
You say 11 hours, not a big deal in the car. And I think anybody in the coast that's been in the coast for long enough has definitely been on multiple of those. I'm always interested, the longest you've ever been in a car just by yourself, driving yourself from one place to another.
I drove straight to Austin, Texas, my first year pro, 24 hours straight. Stupid, but I made it through.
So you
and
left
then, and then I turned in my receipts to the team as about $100, so they just loved me from day one.
That's always good coming in. Hey, I'm new. Also, here are my McDonald's receipts, all my gas receipts. Can you guys pay that, please?
Yeah, no, $100 I remember. So
this guy's costing us money first day.
I wasn't very smart though. I never did that again. That's for sure.
You left at night? Did you leave in the morning? When did
I left like at 4 a.m. Got there 4 a.m. the next day.
Oh my goodness! You listen.
Where were you driving at that time?
And then went to Hooters for wings when I got to town.
What car did you roll up in?
I had a Chevy Lumina with no hubcaps. I think it was I don't know.
So
89 Lumina.
So you're showing up in just a pure grit machine, driving 24 hours, and then expecting $100 in expenses. So that's, again, starting everything off on the right foot. So I want to talk to you about, you're a guy, you've been in that side of the league for a while. You spent some time in Allen where you won, you were part of the CHL championship winning team. Just talk about that experience. It's got to be, awesome getting to the pinnacle and winning a championship. What was that team like, and what was kind of the group that made that possible like?
Yeah, it was a great moment in my career. It was my first championship as a professional. Last time I had won a championship was with the Brandon Wheat Kings of the Western Hockey League my rookie year. We had beat the Spokane Chiefs, and we just had a good bunch of veteran guys with a good group of rookies as well. And, Coach Steve Martinson, he always puts in good teams. And like I said, we just hit our stride near the end of the season. And, the playoffs, we won the 3 rounds to win the championship. It was a great moment. It was the last year of the Central Hockey League. We beat Denver Cutthroats that year. And, and the one thing I'm most proud of, I didn't miss one game that season, and I was 34 years old and played every playoff game. And it was a great moment in my career. Got a nice big ring, and can't complain.
So after that season, you end up going, you play in Rapid City, then you end up becoming a coach in Rapid City. When you became a coach, how much did you take away from that championship year, from the things that you learned from Steve Martinson and things that you learned from your time playing? How much was taken out of that success into what you do now?
Well, when I became 29, 30 years old, I always hoped one day, and my goal was to one day be a coach at this level or any level. And I learned a lot from different coaches. I had great coaches throughout my career, especially the pro career. The likes of Brent Hughes, former NHLer, Rich Crom in Evansville, and Kevin McClellan in Wichita, and then Steve Martinson. So, you take away a little bit from every individual, and put it in your register it in your brain, and it is an adjustment from being a player to a coach. I really appreciate all my coaches after I got the job, because I didn't know all the work that was involved in being a coach. You have to take care of 20, 25 players, and as a player, you really just take care of yourself. So there's long hours, a lot more preparation, but it's a passion of mine. That's one of the reasons I played 15 years minor pro, bussing it all the way. I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the love of the game. And I enjoy my time developing these kids. And that's the main thing, developing them and making them better human beings at the end of the day.
I have one more serious one, and then I think we'll veer off here for just a few minutes. So my serious one, and we asked Andrew Lord this, albeit it was off air, so we'll call it the step team, the step brothers of the Rapid City Rush down there in Greenville, like you mentioned, with the shared ownership of Spire Sports and Entertainment. So Andrew was talking to us again. It was off air, but we sort of quickly asked him, what did you say to the team about the importance of making it through this year and making a good impression? So as head coach, what did you say, or have you said anything to the boys about the importance of showing the hockey world that this is possible and that we can get through this season without any hitches?
Yeah, no, definitely. We went through meetings the first day about the tight protocols that need to be followed to stay safe. Wearing your mask at all times around the locker room, social distancing, washing your hands, and even being out in the community, just do the curbside pickup, and just make sure we're doing all the little things to keep everyone safe, because at the end of the day, we need to be playing hockey and staying safe at the same time. And then if there are cases, we got to try to minimize the damage, because we'd be fools to think that no one will test positive. I mean, this virus is a serious thing and it's everywhere, but to minimize the damage and keep it tight. And that was the main thing that we addressed as an organization to the players.
On the exact opposite end of the spectrum, we've learned from Mark Benetti, the wonderful voice of the Rapid City Rush, who was featured on our call of the week. So every week on the show at the start, we'll pick out, a couple of the best plays and then give a little love to the media guys this year too. And so Binner had the Jack Suter first career goal call. I really enjoyed it. So did Evan. And Jack, we know, is a great player in juniors and college. And that was his first career goal. So anyway, back to Binner. He puts olives and pickle spears in Bud Light. And we heard this, both Evan and I, and Evan's not a fan of olives. He'll eat pickles. I'll eat both. But what is going on with this Bud Light and the olives and the pickle situation here?
I don't know. He started it a couple of years ago, and then I tried it and actually loved it. And then my fiance also tried it, and she loved it. And then all his friends here in Rapid City tried and loved it, and it seems to be a thing now in Rapid City, and because of Mark Benetti. So, hey, man, try it out there.
I might have to give it a try. I mean, if it's taking over part of the country, I mean, it's bound to get here probably by next year, the way that Mark Benetti makes his rounds around places. But I mean, he explained it to us. I remember the first time that we were talking about it, and he said it so nonchalantly, and I was like, wait, back up a second. You put olives in your Bud Light. So you're at the bar and you're asking the bartender, hey, can I get an olive? And he's probably like, for what? You ordered a Bud Light. He goes, exactly. So I said, Benner, you got to explain yourself. And he did. And we still think it's strange. But I mean, if you're on board, I mean, and so many other people are on board, I think we have to give it a try.
He did start a trend here in Rapid City. I must admit, everywhere I go now, like Buffalo Wild Wings or wherever, people are using olives and pickle spears because of Benetti. I'm telling you, it's popular here. He's been here several years, so he's got a big following.
I'm glad he has a big following for him. And we talked right before we put you live that you claim he makes the best spaghetti and meatballs.
Oh, it's unbelievable. His meatballs, it's his grandma's specialty, and his spaghetti and meatballs are unbelievable. Probably the best in the league. So,
oh my God,
he'll have to cook for you guys one day.
We're gonna have to make him cook for us.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Have to. And then while it's cooking, little Bud Light with olives and pickles.
I want to know how many pickles and how many olives he has in his fridge at one time. Just you never know when the moment's going to be right. You know, you always have to be prepared in that sense.
That's all he got. That's all he's got in his fridge, I think. That's it. Bud Light and pickles and all. That's why he stays so skinny, you know.
I was going to say, too, he's a lithe one. He's a lithe one. So this has been great. Again, Daniel Tetrault, the head coach of the Rapid City Rush. We really appreciate you hopping on. And this is episode 2. We're going to keep this going throughout the year, keep highlighting what you guys are doing as coaches, highlight some players along the way as well. And thank you so much for hopping on.
Thanks for having me, guys. And stay safe out there, and Merry Christmas.
You
as well.
Merry Christmas.
Alas, David, another episode of Coastin with Piv and Finer comes to a close. Another great week of guests, talk about nonsense, and some hockey too. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully everyone can join us again next week.
I'm really looking forward to it with some more games coming up starting on Friday. They don't get into the midweek games for a few more. So when that happens, we'll have some more current action, not games that are a few days old to talk about. And we'll have some more current plays as well. But Evan, it was a joy. I'm glad that we had a chance to renew for episode 2. And now we have the drive for 3 and the quest for 4. And
is this like when you have like a TV pilot and hopefully it gets picked up? Is that kind of what journey we're on here?
I feel like the pilot got picked up, but we'll see.
But we're still the season 1 hasn't been renewed yet.
Oh, season 1. Now we got to make sure that there's a season 2 at some point. And
yep.
I had a wonderful time chatting with you. Stefan was great.
As always.
Daniel was great.
Yep.
We will see everyone next week. Thanks again for tuning in. Be back next week for episode number 3.